next morning, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
How did everyone sleep?
Well, Elian's been up since about 2:30 in the morning, drinking pot after pot after pot of tea.
Just didn't go to sleep again.
Nope.
Who's the early... Who am I kidding? I know who the early... It's Mayveris. Mayveris is the early bird. She comes gliding down the stairs. Good morning, darling. You're up early. And she, ruffles your hair.
I look over and I have, gigantic bags under my eyes. I'm still in my nightgown again,
Oh, darling. You look terrible. What's wrong?
I had a really awful dream.
She says, Demons of fear.
Probably.
It happens to the best of us, my dear. Don't worry. You're not a mage, so it probably had very little interest in possessing you. She, pats your cheek. It shouldn't make you feel better, but, it kind of does.
Yeah.
She's just so nice.
Yeah, I think, he just kind of lets a breath out. He wants to just rush into the explanation of it, but also, she's reassuring. But he's also been awake since 2 in the morning, scared out of his mind.
She says, you really should smarten up. We're going to be meeting the Divine this morning.
Yeah, you're right. Can we talk about it later?
Of course, dear, if that's what you need.
I think I do. And he looks afraid still. Despite the reassurance.
I mean, she's a mage. She knows how dreams can be scary. She was trained from childhood to know exactly how scary dreams can be, especially for a mage. But she says, of course, sweetheart. If that's what you need, that's fine. Who's next to rise? I'm going to guess either Cassandra or Sabre. Definitely not Dorian.
Yeah, definitely not Dorian. Yeah, I feel like I didn't really sleep poorly so just routinely I should eventually make my way downstairs.
Good morning, darling.
Good morning, Mayveris. And Elian?
He had a bad dream.
Ah.
I think he just kind of gives you, a really tired wave and heads back upstairs to go clean up.
Right. I'm, looking at you you want to talk? Oh, no, okay, bye.
Sabre, you eventually come downstairs. You probably pass Elian on the way down. He looks like shit.
Wow, you look really bad this morning.
Thank you. That was my intention.
You're welcome. And then I walk downstairs.
Good morning. How did you sleep, darling?
Ugh.
Would you like some tea?
I would.
Wonderful. Have a seat. I hope you're excited. We're going to be meeting Divine Victoria today.
Is it going to be like this the whole time?
Oh, I hope so.
Oh. I just bury my head in my arms on the table.
I just sort of give you a there pat.
So how well does Elian clean up after a terrible night like that?
I don't know. I feel like there should be some kind of role for that.
Lol. Poor lesions.
I don't know what it would be.
Willpower morale?
Yeah, that could work.
You have incredibly good luck with willpower rolls.
Right?
Let's see if that holds. You don't look like shit. That said, you're not up to your usual scruff either, so.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna get all my weapons for sure, but aside from that.
Are they gonna let you have weapons in front of the Divine?
I guess we'll find out.
We'll find out, won't we?
Yeah.
Mayveris goes bustling out the door first, and there is a carriage waiting for you.
I feel like Elian would totally open the door for her.
She has this large ornamental fan that she fans herself with. She says, "Oh, aren't you just a peach?" And she boops you on the nose and climbs in. You all pile into this cart, and you take off rattling down the streets of Minrathis, and she says, now, the main objective here, of course, is to be seen, to ingratiate ourselves with the Southern Divine, get some political pull. It's all about soft power in Minrathis, you understand.
Nope.
And again, I'm the only one.
The only one who gives a fuck about politics.
Yep.
I look up at Mayveris and I'm like, if I'm being honest, I really just want to ask her about my brother.
She says, oh yes, I suppose that would be on your mind, wouldn't it? I can't blame you, my dear.
Thank you.
She says, we heard about the hero of Ferelden even up here in Tevinter, she says, fanning herself.
That's great. We didn't hear about him at all. The first time I heard about it at all was yesterday, so...
Yeah, that does seem like it would be hard, my dear. If it makes you feel any better, we got an extremely sanitized version of what he did. probably almost better if we hadn't heard anything at all, because until very recently, I was under the impression that he was a human noble. So that does not surprise you at all, Sabre. That shit happens constantly to famous elves. They either get methodically erased from history or they get sanitized.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Okay, I think I just sort of roll my eyes and settle back down into sulky silence.
She says, yeah, that was my reaction too.
It's just not a surprise. Just have them do it with everything. Why would I be surprised they did it with... Anyways.
Yeah, we do. We do that a lot, yeah. Not even gonna fight. Like, yeah, we're awful. Mayveris pays some special attention to you, Kassan, and she says, are you nervous at all, dear?
About fitting in this carriage, or...
Oh, no, sweetheart. About the divine.
I'm worried about both. This is a very small carriage, and...
You already fit in the carriage!
She is probably stooped. Like, this is a huge
Yeah, exactly. I was like, I
y'all.
have to duck. I'm, like, crouched over, like, I can barely fit in here, Sabre.
She's like, maybe we should invest in a bigger carriage.
My horns are poking up. Yeah, I am a little nervous, yes. I'm always a little nervous.
Well, don't be. From everything I've heard about Divine Victoria, she values honesty and integrity and being true to the self.
Even with a Kunari?
Oh, she traveled with a Kunari, if I'm not mistaken.
That definitely is surprising to me. I'm just like, raises eyebrows. Really?
Mm-hmm. I don't know the details. Like I said, up until very recently, I thought the hero of Ferelden was a human mage. So...
maybe I'll ask her about that.
You should, sweetheart. So it turns out Divine Victoria is being holed up in the Imperial Palace, which is a luxury that is typically afforded to visiting diplomats, that kind of thing. It is a little surprising, if only because of this specific diplomat being the Southern Divine. Like, you'd think they wouldn't spring for her, but apparently someone pulled some strings somewhere. The Imperial Palace is the biggest governmental building in Minrathous. It has a very distinct gold-plated dome that dominates the entire structure, and it has 3 huge wings that sprawl out south, west, and east, and the big front door on the northern end, which is surrounded by a sprawling garden strutting with peacocks of varying colors and overgrown with flowers. Like everything in Minrathous, it's very old, it's very beautiful, and it is so extra. It's just way, way too much.
Like, if this were an anime, Alien's eyes would be bigger than dinner plates. Just, like, loving all this.
On the opposite side of that, Sabre is horrified.
A footman attends when the carriage rolls to a stop, and he pulls the door open and helps Mayveris down first, and she sort of curtsies at him and gives herself a little fan. It is a very oppressively hot day in Minrathous. The sun is very, very bright. And you all climb out, and she says, well, let's go be seen, shall we?
Oh, God.
I think Elien offers his arm to her, just because, politeness is taking over.
Charming.
Also, because he is getting a little nervous, so he's defaulting into that politeness, because, oh god, I'm meeting basically Fantasy Pope. Oh god.
Yeah. Right.
She slides her arm into yours and she says, I can tell you're nervous, sweetheart. And she takes off, leading the pack of 4 of you into these grand double doors that are tiled with brightly colored mosaics.
By the way, I think whenever you offer your arm to Mayveris, Elian, I sort of look at Cassandra, and I look down at myself, and then I'm like, I guess this is a thing we do, and I hold my arm out, like, confused.
Is this how Shems?
Right, and then I just stare it back at you, confused, and like, what are you doing?
I take my arm back, and I'm like, I look very embarrassed, and I thought we were supposed... And never mind, and I walk away.
I'm like, wait, no, was that an etiquette thing? Am I supposed to take Elian?
Mayveris has these high heels that absolutely do not make her look any taller. Like, she still looks very tiny. But they click very resolutely on this expansive marble floor. This, Mayveris explains to you as you walk, is, among other things, the seat of the Magisterium proper. It's like, this is the equivalent of, like, the halls of Congress. This is where the Magisterium, which is a real legislative body, actually meets and discusses things. And you actually pass by the wide double doors. The Magisterium is not in session currently, so it's wide open. There are tourists taking a look at everything. The chamber proper is beautiful because it has this big glass ceiling over it with multicolored glass. It leaves dappled sunlight all over the floor. It's fucking beautiful. Everything in Mirathis, absolutely objectively beautiful and also extra. She doesn't take you there, though. She takes you off to this wide, sort of like a formal meeting room of some kind. It's got lots of tables and overstuffed armchairs set up across this wide floor. And there are several balconies that are set high up into this, like, 2 or 3 story wall that wraps around the edge. There's a huge chandelier hanging in the center. And Maevaris heads up to a small door on the side, nods at the guard, who nods back at her, and opens the door, and you've climbed this narrow set of stairs up into one of the balconies, where there is indeed Divine Victoria, Leliana, to her friends, which none of you are her friends.
Right.
And immediately, when she comes into view, Maevaris drops into this excruciatingly low curtsy, and she says, "Your perfection. It is an honor to make your acquaintance."
And I feel like Elian is doing his best bow as well next to her.
Right. I just look at the two of you again, just like, oh, okay. And sort of like, make myself a right angle, like, bow.
What about you, Sabre? You have a lot of reason to be like, fuck the Chantry. Like, you specifically. The Chantry destroyed the Dales and enslaved your people. So you have some reason to be salty about showing deference to the divine.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Then I think I just stand straight and I look and I say, hello.
Maevaris looks like she's about to elbow you when Divine Victoria stands up and she says, "You must be Maevaris Tilani. Dorian's told me so much about you. I believe we collaborated briefly during my work for the Inquisition." She says, "Oh yes, you helped me immensely in kickstarting the Lucerni. Those people you killed, loved that. Big fan of that." She says, "Oh, it's my pleasure. I enjoy killing the old slaver every now and again. It's good for the blood, keeps the circulation."
I'm warming up to her against my will.
Liliana says, please sit. And she knows, just because she's been through this for so many years now, she has to be the first one to sit down. So she sits down and she gestures all of you to sit down as well. And if Maevaris' goal was to be capital S seen, she's succeeding, because you're sitting on this balcony overlooking this huge meeting room, and everyone's looking, not looking at you. You know what I mean? They're sidelong glances, and they're trying to be cool about it, but also they're a little bit jealous. And also completely appalled, because why does she have audience with a Kunari savage and some Dalish barbarian? Why is she meeting with them but not with anyone else?
Rude. Yeah, exactly.
So rude. And she says, "It is long overdue. I have always wanted to come to Deventer. In the abstract way, more practically, this is, a nation of slaves and slavers, which is a bit of a turnoff, but it is just as beautiful as everyone says it is." Maevaris says, "Yes, that's the common reaction that we get here in Deventer. Beautiful, but lots of slaves. We're hoping to rectify that." She says, "I don't believe I've been introduced to your friends." She says, "Oh, of course. Divine Victoria, this is Elian Bayard. You might tell immediately from his accent that he happens to be Orlesian. And actually, you can tell as well, Elian, based on... I can't do Liliana's accent, but her accent is also Orlesian."
Delightful.
And she says, "It is a pleasure to meet you."
It's a pleasure to meet you as well, Divine Victoria.
She says, "While we're not in a formal company, you can just call me Liliana." Which is so weird. It's like the Pope asking you to call him Roger. It's so weird.
You're like, what?
If you wish.
I promise I won't tell anyone. And Maevaris turns to you, Cassandra, and she says, "And this is Cassandra. I'll give you 3 guesses where she comes from." And Liliana sort of chuckles mildly. She's like, "I'm able to put it together." She says, "How long have you been outside of the Kyun?"
That is a good question. How long has it been?
Not long. A couple months at most.
Months, yeah. I'm like, not very long.
No?
No. Still very new to this. I sort of gesture to everything.
To freedom? She says, hopefully.
Yes, especially that.
She says, well, the best advice that I can give you is that there's no way to do freedom incorrectly. So you're doing a very good job just by definition of doing it yourself.
I just sort of like incline my head at that. I'm like, okay.
And finally, Maevaris turns to you, Sabre. And of course, this is Sabre.
And I just look back at Divine Victoria and I say, I hear that you knew my brother.
Yeah, as soon as she heard the name Sabre, she gets a little pale and she says, Sabre, Clan Sabre.
Indeed.
She says, brother. And, like, she actually sits up a little straighter in her chair and he says, You're Yariel. And Maevaris is like, oh, is he now?
I flinch a little bit at that. that didn't go as well as I was planning.
Liliana, like, scoots forward in her chair and she says, it's really you, Yariel, his little brother, Ren's little brother.
My mouth, like, twists into this just, like, not happy, just, like, an absolute grimace. I haven't been called anybody's little brother in a very long time. I sort of, like, nod begrudgingly. Indeed. Although, I thought he was dead for years.
She says, well, technically he has been dead for years, I suppose. Although, I'm guessing that's little comfort to you. She says, I don't know what comfort this might bring you, but he spoke about you constantly. He spoke about the clan constantly. All he wanted to do was finish taking care of this blight thing and get back home.
Why did he never... I start to say it and then I sort of, like, stop myself.
She says, because he made the ultimate sacrifice he ended the blight. That's the price that a Grey Warden pays. To kill the archdemon, they have to sacrifice themselves.
This has been a lot of information.
She says, we should talk more, I think. After all, he was famous to everyone else, but you were famous to me. I always wanted to meet you.
Here I am, in the flesh.
She laughs, but, like, there's, like, a real undercurrent of sadness. And she says, it's, it's like, she's actually a little misty-eyed, like, just like Zevran was getting. She's like, oh, wow, it's an honor to meet you all. And I just wanted to extend to all of you, of course, my and the Chantry's formal support of the Lucerni. And Maevaris absolutely, like, she's just titillated. She almost vibrates in her seat. Like, oh, you cannot know what an honor it is to hear. She says, and of course we'll offer you any support, material or otherwise. And she says, I was hoping, if it's not too much to ask, I would ask a favor, if it's not an imposition.
I think Sabre just sort of looks around like who's in charge? It's not him.
I mean, apparently it's fucking Maevaris.
Yeah, I guess it's Maevaris.
Right?
I guess I look around and then I sort of, like, turn to Maevaris.
Maevaris, like, she's already wrapped around Liliana's finger, so she's like, absolutely, anything you want. Your perfection. And she says, oh, well, good. She stands up briefly and goes over to, like, a small end table that's on the side of the room, and she says, just because I left the Inquisition and officially abandoned my duties as spy master, in practice... not so much. And she sits back down and she says, I've been still collecting information from all over Thedas. And she turns to Maevaris specifically and she says, have you heard about what's been happening in Virantium? And anyone who cares to can make a culture or historical lore check.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Elian, you've heard of Virantium. Virantium is home to one of the circles of Magi in Tevinter. So in the south, the circles of mages, like, you're familiar with southern circles. They're very oppressive. Mages are basically locked up their entire lives. They're not allowed to fall in love. They're not allowed to leave, except under very specific circumstances. But in Tevinter, circles are prestigious academies. And the Circle of Virantium is one of the most prestigious. Like, there's a city called Virantium, but mostly it's the Circle of Virantium that everyone knows.
Okay.
And Maevaris says, oh yes, I've actually heard some rumors out of that area lately. People killing caravans going in and out. Some slavers, initially just slavers, and we thought it was a vigilante on our side, but then non-political caravans got caught up in it too. Merchants and workers and builders. And Leliana, she nods her head and she says, yes, that's exactly what's happened. One of my little birds that I've had stationed not far outside Virantium since I'd made the choice to come up to the north for this peace talk was that she hesitates and she says, well, she wasn't 100% sure. She got to the battle a little late, but she swore up and down that one of the sites of the battle, one of the destroyed caravans, there were Darkspawn corpses. And this one you all have to roll.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, that's important.
This is important. What even would this be? I guess either arcane lore or cultural lore, whichever is higher for you. Why is Elian getting so many good rolls is what I want to know.
I don't know.
It's just a question.
Oh, what?
Okay, so Darkspawn. Darkspawn are creatures that live underground primarily. They are mostly a problem in the dwarven city-state of Orzammar. Darkspawn live underground, and they notably only make it all the way to the surface during a blight. And as we have established, the last blight ended about 15 years ago, thanks to Ren of Clan Sabre. So it seems a little weird that Darkspawn would be on the surface again this soon after the end of a blight. The first blight was thousands of years ago, and it lasted like 250 years. It was awful. It almost completely destroyed civilization. So the mere suggestion that a blight could be on the horizon is distressing, to say the least.
How often do these things come around?
Not very often. Like, historically, there have been 1,000-year gaps between them.
Okay. Great. That's not good.
It's extremely not good. Yeah. Like, there are reasonable explanations, like maybe like a big cave somewhere got knocked open by an earthquake and there just happened to be a nest of Darkspawn there. It could be that. It could be.
But it's not. It's definitely not that.
But this is my campaign, so it's definitely not that.
But, exactly.
Excellent. Okay, I think Sabre, like, blanches when he hears that then. So that's upsetting news. Great.
It is, yeah, it's upsetting news.
So, with what we rolled, is Sabre the only one who understands what a Darkspawn is, or?
All of you have heard of Darkspawn, and it actually makes sense that, Kay, you know the least about them, because I think, historically, a blight has never hit Parvalan or Saharan.
Yeah, it's like, dude, I'm on an island, like, fuck all y'all.
Yeah, like, where are the fucking the Darkspawn? What are they gonna do? Swim? No, they're not gonna swim.
Yeah, like, come on.
Okay, so I guess I like share like a troubled look around the table, and then I see the Cassandra, no idea what's going on.
I'm just like blinking.
And I'm like, Cassandra, you know what Darkspawn are.
I do. Have heard of them.
So you understand the implication of I can't be the only one who gets it. I look at Elian like helplessly. Like I shouldn't have to explain complex concepts to people. I'm not good at that.
Me, the party dumbass.
I think it kind of haltingly is like, so if there's Darkspawn above ground again, it's likely that there's an...
Leliana interjects, it could be nothing. It could just be a nest that, happened to find its way to the surface somehow. It could be absolutely nothing, but I lived through the fifth blight, and I want to make absolutely sure that it's nothing.
So you want someone to go out there?
She says, you're very perceptive, yes.
I think I turn to look back at Viveris. Like, she's in charge. Is this the thing we take on? Is this, like, part of our responsibilities?
Mayveris looks a little troubled. And you don't initially know why. Like, she seems like she's really deep in thought, thinking about something. And she says, what? Oh, yes, absolutely. Of course we will. Absolutely, Your Grace. I could not be happier to acquiesce to your whims. And she says, okay, you don't have to be that grandiloquent about it, but thank you.
That's just sort of how she is.
It is.
She doesn't have, like, an offsetting?
Not that we've found.
She says, oh, well, at least you know it's her true nature. She says, if you can, take a look along the Imperial Highway, especially down south closer to Vibrantium. See if you can find any of the destroyed caravans, and make her help us. See if you can find any Darkspawn corpses. I would advise taking with you someone who has seen Darkspawn before.
Who's that gonna be?
You're gonna have to ask.
Yeah, I think Elian just kind of nods, and if that's how we can help you, we would be happy to.
She smiles beatifically out at you, and she says, I would really appreciate it. Like I said, it's probably nothing, but I don't want to run the risk that it's not.
Before we leave, Divine Victoria.
Again, you can just call me Liliana when no one's listening.
I was told that you traveled with a Kunari.
She says, oh, Sten! Yes, I did!
So that was his title, I see.
Oh, yes, he was tall, is like the best she can come up with. He was very tall.
We tend to be tall, yes.
She says, but very, very noble in his way. I came to admire him a great deal. And she looks at you, Sabre. You know, your brother actually helped him find his lost sword, helped him return to Parvalan.
I definitely turn to look at, like, Sabre, like, whoa. As I'm staring at Sabre, I'm like, in the Kyun, the weapon of a soldier it's part of him. It is considered his essence, his asala, his soul. To be separated from it is worse than death. To help him find it again is like helping him find himself.
Liliana leans forward and says, your brother touched a lot of lives. Sten's among them, although I imagine he probably has a different title now. I haven't seen him since the Blight ended.
I think I just look exasperated at this point. I'm just like, at this point, it's just like, everyone knew my brother better than I did.
Oh.
I think before we leave, I want like a private word with Liliana.
Okay. So Mayveris hastily agrees. She says, of course, we'll look into this. I will send these 3 of my finest, and she like slaps like Sabre and Elian very hard on the backs. And it's like, and we'll get to the bottom of this, of course, Divine Victoria. She says, anything that improves the stability of Tevinter. And Lilian's like, okay, I got it. Yeah, it's okay. Like, I'm on board. Stability of Tevinter, sure, absolutely. And you are all filing out to leave.
Awesome. And I think as they all turn, like I sort of like I stay behind and awkwardly sort of look at her and I go, if you have some time, I would like very much to hear more about my brother.
Her face sort of softens. She says, I'm sure that can be arranged. If you want, She actually hesitates. She puts a hand, like, on her hip, and you realize for the first time that the fucking Pope is armed. Like, Fantasy Pope is packing.
See, I like her even better now.
She says, I was at the Battle of Denerin, where your brother killed the Archdemon, and before his body was taken away for last rites, She reaches under her robe and she pulls out this silver short sword, and she hands it to you, pommel out, and she says, I think I've held on to this long enough. This was the blade he used to kill the Archdemon. I think it's better in your hands.
Oh, God.
Oh, man.
God. Okay. That, hurts.
Wow.
That hurts a lot.
And actually, it hurts a little bit more when you realize it's, like, his fucking sword. Like, it's the one he had when he was still Dalish. And he kept it all the way through his adventures.
And killed the fucking Archdemon with it.
It's got the elven runes on it. The only difference that you can tell is he's plated it with something. Like, you can't tell immediately what he's plated it with. It's, like, shiny or glossier somehow.
Okay. I look down at it in, like, I think awe, but also a tiny bit of, like, horror and just, like, all of the emotions are playing on his face.
She says, it's been my prized possession for 15 years, but he would have wanted you to have it.
You don't know what this means to me.
She Like, she hesitates for a minute, and then very delicately, she, like, pulls you into, like, a brief one-armed hug. Just very brief, because you are a little scary. And she doesn't want to, like, overstep her bounds.
That's actually about all the much hug I can handle, so it's perfect.
She smiles down at you when you withdraw, and she says, I knew your brother very well. I don't know you as well as I should like, but if we have the time, I would like to rectify that. He spoke about you often, so I'm sure we'll get along just fine.
I think I clasp it a little closer to my chest, and I look at her and I say, it's so nice to have a piece of him back.
She smiles and is like, you have to leave before I start to cry.
Agreed.
I can't be seen crying. You both just leave. Like,
Yep.
That's enough.
Yep, that's just all the emotions. We don't need any more emotions.
She wants you to go where? And Mayver says, to Virantium, or at least along the Imperial Highway south toward Virantium.
Seems fine to me.
Darkspawn don't seem fine to me.
Me either. But I'd rather know a little bit more about it.
I mean, I'd rather kill Darkspawn than just have him lying around.
Dorian says, well, that's fair, I suppose. And, you know, Mayveris isn't completely wrong. It's better to have a stable Tevinter. Just try to keep it quick. Okay, don't get distracted by anything. Certainly don't get involved in, like, a multi-episode long plot arc that will keep you out of Marathis for several canonical weeks.
Sabray looks confused. Well, we weren't planning to, but...
I mean, yeah, sure, we were going to come straight back, don't worry.
And there is also the question of who you want to take with you.
Mm-hmm.
So the real question is, who's had experience with Darkspawn?
So I imagine you asking that question, like, at the table, which is what, like, the dinner table has just become the unofficial meeting place of the Lucerni. And Sabray's like, who's had experience with Darkspawn? And, like, they all just sort of look at each other like, oh god, why do we need experience with Darkspawn? What's happening? Zevran hesitantly raises his hand.
Oh,
so does Dorian. And, actually, no, Talgan does too. Talgan's had experience with Darkspawn.
Oh, there we go. Apparently they're a Darkspawn, I say, by way of explanation.
God.
And Talgan's like, and I'm sure no further explanation is necessary.
Did you need more information than that?
Yes!
I quickly step in and give him the explanation of why we've been asked to go and look here and, you know, what exactly we're looking for.
And, like, as soon as you're done with your explanation, Elian, Talgan's like, oh, well then no, fuck that. I mean, like, I will if you insist, but I'd rather not. My one experience with Darkspawn is bad. And Zevran's like, when has an experience with Darkspawn ever been good, my dwarven friend? Dorian says, back when I was in the Inquisition, I was known to fight a few bands of Darkspawn. And Zevran very flatly says, I was a veteran of the Fifth Blight. I've killed more Darkspawn than I can count.
He seems like the logical choice.
So that just decided it for me, at least for Sabray. Take the battle-scarred veteran.
The one who was definitely fucking your brother.
We're not going to talk about that.
So we're all agreed you want to bring Zevran along?
Mm-hmm.
I think so.
He also did that cool murdering of the, I mean, it wasn't cool for Cassandra, but
it was super cool for Elian.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it was weird as fuck because, like, normally you're a little bit more discreet about it, but, like...
In Orlais,
where they do it wrong.
Excuse me, they do it right.
I don't know, actually. I feel like if you're going to just kill people, you should definitely just do it in public with a giant circle.
You've got the rest of the day to pack up, and then you figure you might as well just, like, leave in the morning, because it's going to be a long trip, and you want to be well rested for the first leg.
Is it, like, cold? Like, do we have to face environmental hazards?
It's
or, like...
Tevinter. It's hot as fuck all the time.
Okay.
But you will have the Tevinter Highway, the Imperial Highway, excuse me, it runs along the Notion Sea, which keeps it relatively cool.
Do we know anything, like, or can we roll to see if we know anything about, like, specific methods of killing Darkspawn? Is it just, like, the tip, like, is it just, like, stab with spear, or is there anything else we have to do?
Yeah. Go ahead and roll cunning military lore.
Oh boy.
Well, guys, someone who's not me should do this. This is going to end very poorly for everyone.
With 2 11s, you put your heads never fucking seen Darkspawn heads together.
Yeah.
And the best you can remember is that it's like the easiest way to kill them is to like cut their head off, you think? Or something like that. And as you are all trying to remember, it's like, what's the thing with Darkspawn? There's something about Darkspawn. And Zevran abruptly appears in front of you, and he like slams a bag down on the table, and the whole table rattles, and he says, Silverite. And he's like very, very terse. He says, Silverite kills Darkspawn very well. Take something. And he gestures to the bag. And in this bag,
oh boy,
it just so happens, almost completely identical weapons that you can take, except they are coated with Silverite. Why does Zevran have a stockpile of Silverite-coated weapons? Because he is a veteran of the Fifth Blight.
That's valid.
You, Sabrae, well, you've already got your brother's sword.
I was going to say, I'm assuming that's what that is, right? Can I, like, I'm going to take it out and compare them, like. Yeah,
you're remembering now, like, wait, it looked different, and you're realizing it, yeah, he actually coated it with Silverite, which, if he was a Grey Warden, that would make a lot of goddamn sense.
Yep, that makes sense. Okay, so that's what I have to use. Okay.
It is a short sword, however, which I think qualifies it as, like, a light blade.
It's one of the things I took, like I took a focus in it or whatever. Yeah, I've got weapon groups, light blades, or one of them.
I wanted to give you like a long sword or something, but like your brother was a rogue, he's not going to have a long sword.
Yeah, that's fair. No, I have a dual weapon thing, so the plan was actually to do a spear in one hand and a short sword in another. So
cool,
nice.
So speaking of which, is there a Silverite coated spear? Because if so, I'm gonna take it out.
Yes, there is, okay. Of course, obviously.
Glad we have a veteran coming with us.
Right, seems like a good idea. Kay, who is in love with Zevran, is like, it's a great idea!
The only one who doesn't seem to think it's a good idea is fucking Zevran. He does not look happy to be going to kill like, Darkspawn.
Not fucking again.
It's like, well, I'd rather just not.
Ideally, we're not going to be going to kill Darkspawn. We're just going to find no evidence of more of them. That it was just a fluke.
And it'll definitely work out that way.
That's usually how these things happen.
Yeah.
I think I catch Zevran and I ask him, like, look, we don't know what we're doing. Is there anything else we should be prepared for?
He looks at you for quite a long time and he says, keep your mouth closed when you fight them.
I'm sorry, what?
Darkspawn blood is poison.
Yike.
That's a good life hack. Okay.
And he, without another word, he just sort of grabs his weapons and sheathes them, like pulls the bag over one shoulder. He does not look enthusiastic about this. He looks like he's having a bad day.
Oh, great.
It is the night before you leave. You have a Silverite quarterstaff now, which is quite shiny. Mm-hmm. And that's about all it is. Like, if you hit a Darkspawn with it really hard, it should poison him or something. You don't really know why Silverite is strong against Darkspawn. You just gotta take Zevran's word for it. Mm-hmm. But you have it now, and it's cool and it's shiny and you like it, and you are heading into the sitting room where Mayveris is doing what you think is embroidery, although you've never seen embroidery. It's not a very appropriate hobby for anyone.
It sure ain't a Kunari thing. Like, what the fuck is that? So yeah, I will just approach, lean over, and be like, what are you doing?
Maker! She whirls around in her chair and she's like, for being 7.5 feet tall, you are quiet like a mouse.
I didn't mean to startle you. Forgive me.
It's all right, darling. It's all right. And she like pats she's sitting on this wicker settee in the middle of this lounge, and she says, sit down. She pats the spice next to her.
I do.
She says, I'm actually glad you're here. I have something for you. She clicks open the embroidery hoop, and she is left with like, it's about the size of maybe like a handkerchief, and it has like at first you thought it was something kind of like frilly, like vines and flowers or something like that, but now that you're looking at it, roll magic plus creation.
Oh boy.
With a 9, all you can get is that those are not dainty little flowers and leaves or whatever. Those are actually runes that she's embroidered onto this handkerchief. She folds it up just so, and she holds one hand out as if she's asking for your hand.
I put my hand out.
She takes your hand, puts it on her knee, and very delicately ties the handkerchief around your wrist. And she says, I have enchanted this to be a little something extra. I don't very much like the idea that you're going to be going out and possibly facing Darkspawn. So I want you to keep this on you. And mechanically, what this handkerchief does, it is a token of affection from Averis, and you can activate it once per day to either heal 2d6 damage or remove one status condition, like a poison effect or something.
Okay. I just sort of, like, blink at her and at it, like, I have never received a gift before.
She, like, for a second, she's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Who hasn't received a gift? And then it, like, clicks in her head. She's like, oh, a fucking Cerebas has never received a gift before. That too. And she says, oh, my darling. And she delicately clasps your hand in hers and she says, I want you to know that everyone here in the Lucerne is your friend. Do you understand?
I think so.
We all care about you very much. We want you to be safe and we want you to be happy.
That's very kind of all of you.
She grips your hands a little tighter and pats it and she says, we take care of our own here in Tevinter. There's not a lot that we can say about our society that's any good, but if there is one very good thing about us, it is that we look after our own. And you are our people now. You understand? You're one of us.
Oh, that's really cute. I just sort of like look at her and like nod solemnly like, yes, I understand.
She says, good. I'm glad. Please be careful.
I'll try.
So you're sitting at a table and you're embroidering.
Mm-hmm.
And Leander comes down the stairs, absolutely ghost silent as ever.
Naturally.
He stops when he sees you at the table, and his eyes immediately like focus on your hands and what they're doing. And he kind of hesitates, and he's trying to come up with a reason to watch you do it, and you're still not 100% sure why. Like, he was really interested the last time he saw you do this.
Would you like to join me?
He's still hesitating, and he says, I surely have better things to do. But that said, it looks like he wants to say yes.
Things can wait, if you'd rather sit for a minute.
It doesn't take a lot of convincing. Eventually, he heads over to the table and sits down next to you. And he just starts watching you very intently.
I feel like he tries to do the whole, like, okay, politeness thing, try to ignore how intently he's staring, but it's kind of hard. Do you want to learn how I'm doing this?
No.
What? What's the interest, then? What's so fascinating?
He stops. You've obviously finally, and his brain is finally catching up with the rest of him. He's like, oh yeah, it is a little weird to stare with intense focus at someone who's doing a thing. He is silent for a minute and he says, it reminds me of back when I was still a slave in Azariel. I was born to 2 slaves. My mother, she often used to do the hemming and the embroidering on my master's clothes. Often, I would sit for hours and watch her.
Oh.
She's dead now, he says with absolutely, just completely flat.
I'm sorry.
I was sorry once too.
You're welcome to keep watching if you'd like.
I would.
I think he just smiles and goes back to it, maybe humming a little.
The conversation lapses for a little bit and he says, are you nervous?
I'd be really stupid not to be.
He nods and he says, the wisest thing my master ever said was that fear keeps you sharp. He was right.
Yeah, that doesn't make it feel better, though.
He says, you have a very strange way of behaving.
Like, tranquil? What? You?
Yeah, the tranquil calling your behavior strange is a little rich, but,
How do you mean?
You speak with great affectation, but say very little when you do it. You manipulate the feelings and ideas of others, while keeping your own thoughts and ideas very close to your chest. Is this common for Orlesians, or is it something specific to you?
No, it's pretty common.
I feel as if I may have offended you. I apologize. That was not the intention.
No.
If anything, I only wish to convey admiration. I miss the days when I could speak like that.
I can't imagine being as you are.
I do not require your sympathy.
It's not...
But I appreciate it.
Gives a hesitant smile.
He doesn't smile back. He doesn't know how to smile.
Not even any muscle memory. Oh.
It's like a couple more seconds of silence, and then he says, "Is this flirting?"
Well, I mean, the intense staring at my hands was a little flirtatious.
I see. That was not my intention.
Would it bother you if it was? I mean, that's a dumb question.
I am incapable of being
yeah.
bothered.
I enjoyed dancing with you the other night.
I think I enjoyed dancing as well. I can't be certain. I'm only capable of so many emotions at one time. It was unusual to feel something other than my usual desire for vengeance and desire for freedom. I'm not sure I liked it.
He was about to say, well, maybe we can try that again.
Nope.
You must understand it's a little distressing for me. I have lived many years now as I am, with extraordinarily limited emotions. To be exposed to something new is disconcerting.
I do understand that. Better than you might think.
He cants his head to the side.
This past year, I've been through so much, and I've had to lock away a lot, but I don't know.
Do you imagine yourself wanting to be in my place?
Without emotion?
I will not be offended if you say yes. It is... And he pauses like he's struggling for a word. Serene in its way.
I don't think so. As awful as things are that I've felt this past year, I don't know that I could give up the rest.
I miss the sadness sometimes. It seems strange to say, but I miss mourning my mother.
I can understand that. I lost someone very dear to me recently.
Bastien, I apologize. I should have feigned ignorance.
No, it's okay. As much as I mourned him, I wouldn't give up the sad just to never feel the pain.
He says, when you get back, ask Magister Pavis about his letters with Cassandra.
Who?
And after you learn what it is she is working on, talk to me again. Hey friends, Tessa here. If you're desperate to hear the next episode, chances are good that you can by joining our Discord server. We post links to all episodes and pre-release, and you can even chat with us and listen live as we record. Join us by going to bit.ly/CFCDiscord. For more information on the show, character biographies, and links to social media, head to our website, critfail.club or critfailclub.com. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Tumblr. Crit Fail Club does not advertise at all, so if you like what you hear, tell a friend who might also like it, make a post on social media about it, or leave a review on Apple Podcasts. Full episodes are available on our YouTube channel, bit.ly/CFC channel, or wherever you get your podcasts.